Talent, it's 5 past on my clock, and I wonder whether you'll give me permission to commence the webinar.
Yes, you can go ahead, Farang.
Thank you so much, Talent, and welcome to all our participants. And I see the number is rising steadily as we commence. And welcome also to our panelists to the third webinar of the year of 2026 during this month, which is Women's Month. And the Commission felt we would like to mark this very important month, which commemorates a very important demographic, and that is women, by having a special purpose webinar with a lovely array of seasoned panelists who will be taking us through their thoughts on investment for women, empowerment for women, financial freedom for women. And I think you'll agree with me that we do not spend enough time talking about these issues, giving each other ideas, giving each other pats on the back even, and continuing to motivate each other. So we are hoping that this webinar is both a celebration of Women's Month, and it also explores avenues to financial freedom. And the panel that we have will be able to equip you with the practical tools to do this. On my panel is a colleague, Ferida Matambo. She's a chartered accountant and with many years, decades of experience. Her full bio is available for you to run through, and the highlights are there for you to see. And of particular interest is that she's a PhD candidate in adaptive leadership. She bridges academic research on emotional intelligence, which is a very sort of topical scientific area of research, and organizational justice, among other engagements at board level and also leadership at corporate level. So welcome to Ferida. Our next participant on the panel will be Corinne Madana, and she is a seasoned professional with over 20 years of experience in the Zimbabwe capital markets, primarily in broking, trading, duly licensed compliance officer, and currently she serves as managing director of InvestIQ Oak Wealth Private Limited, and her passion for financial literacy is well known, even at the Commission, where we do many joint activities to bring greater awareness of the capital market. Finally, we have Thandi Shoniwa, and I think in terms of the seasoning, there's plenty of seasoned, experienced in Sis Thandi, as I like to call her. Over 25 years of experience as a broker, and intermarket stockbrokers for over a decade. And she's currently with Southern Trust Securities, where she has been for 16 years. Prior to that, she was with the Ministry of Finance in the taxes department, and she sits on the board of Southern Trust Securities, as well as the Investor Protection Fund that she will speak more about in her presentation. So that takes me to simply allowing an opportunity for our panelists to take us through their presentations. I did try to put a splash of purple in what I'm wearing today. I'm not sure if I succeeded, but nevertheless, as we commemorate Women's Month, let us begin with a presentation from Ferida. She will begin to share her screen and take us through what I think will be a very interesting presentation. I took a little glimpse at the presentation, and I saw that during the discourse, she will be introducing us to a character called Tutsi. I see your screen. We are in full screen mode, which is great. Ferida, over to you. Please go ahead and unmute. And it would be lovely to see you too, so you can also activate your camera if it is working on that end. Ferida, confirm that you're good to go.
Good morning, Farai. Sorry.
Wonderful. I hear you loud and clear. Your presentation is ready to go.
Confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, but we have your screensaver. We seem to have lost the presentation for a bit. Okay, great. Presentation is back. Try and push your slide just one slide before I disappear so that we are sure it's working. Great. Thank you. Over to you, Ferida.
Thank you very much, Farai, and thank you for this opportunity to celebrate Women's Month. A very pleasant morning to everyone, and thank you once again for joining us today. I am Farida, Director of Finance and Administration at the Securities and Exchange Commission, and today we are going to talk about something that affects all of us: breaking barriers, women and wealth creation through capital markets. In celebration of Women's Month, I want to share why the capital market isn't just accessible to women. It's waiting for you. I'm going to start off with a story that might sound familiar to you. I'm going to speak about Tutsi the saver. So meet Tutsi. Tutsi is a hardworking professional. She saves every month. She budgets very carefully, as we all do. She does everything she's been told to do with her money. She puts it in a savings account, but year after year, she watches inflation chip away at her savings. She works very hard, but her money doesn't. She has a dream of sending her children to university, of owning her own home, and also, obviously, of retiring with dignity. But those dreams seem to slip further away each year, despite her discipline and sacrifice. I'll now introduce you to Tutsi the investor. And she discovered that there is a way for her money to work as hard as she does, particularly as she sleeps. And imagine if she learned that she could participate in the very companies driving the economy forward. Imagine if she realized that the capital market was not just for those people, or the wealthy, the connected, the men in dark suits, but the capital markets is for her too. The key message is the transformation from Tutsi, the saver, to Tutsi, the investor, is what we're here to talk about today. Because when women build wealth, they don't just change their own lives, they transform families, communities, and the entire nation. So there's a ripple cascading effect in that regard. Before I dive into the barriers of how to overcome them, I would want you to understand something crucial. And this is about the role of the Securities and Exchange Commission, your protector, your ally. We are not just a regulator, but we are your protector in this journey. Our mandate, point number one, is protecting investors, and our mandate is to protect and ensure the integrity of the capital markets. But what does this mean in practice? It means that every company listed on our markets meets strict disclosure requirements. It means that brokers and investment advisors are licensed and monitored. It means that there are rules in place to ensure fair trading and to protect you from fraud and manipulation. So under market integrity, think of SECZim as the referee in a football match. We don't play the game, but we know the game very well. We make sure everyone plays by the rules. We make sure that there's a level playing field. We make sure you participate with confidence and that you won't be cheated. Point number three, enable access. As Women's Month, our commitment goes beyond regulation. We are committed to ensuring that women have equal access to the opportunities that the capital market provides. We recognize that for too long, women have been underrepresented in investment spaces. And not because they lack the capability, but because we are faced with unique barriers. We've introduced simplified processes, investor education programs that are specifically designed to reach women in different communities across in Zimbabwe. So we've built the infrastructure as the regulator. We've created the safety nets and we've opened the doors. What I now need is for you to walk through them, because a market that excludes half the population is pretty much unfair. It's inefficient and it limits our national economic potential. Let's be a bit honest about the barriers that have kept women from participating in capital markets. And I'm not going to pretend these barriers do not exist, because they do. I'm going to show you that every single one of them can be overcome. The 5 main barriers standing between women and the capital markets. The first one is cultural conditioning. We grew up being told that investing is men's business. Investing is for the men in the dark suits. I'll look at the confidence gap. Investment, we wait to feel expert enough before we start. We don't have the confidence. Number 3, investment knowledge has been locked away in male-dominated networks, which is the information gap. Limited starting capital. The belief that you need to be wealthy to invest. And by time poverty, I mean juggling the multi-roles with no time for another job. And every barrier be overcome. Let me demonstrate how. The cultural conditioning. The myth is many of us grew in households, decisions were considered men's business. Women were expected to manage household budgets, but not to make the investment decisions. So we were taught to save, not to grow wealth. But the truth is, we are, as women, natural investors. Studies from around the world consistently show that women investors outperform men. And why? Because as women, we tend to be, 1, more patient, more disciplined, and less likely to make impulsive decisions based on emotion. And the very qualities that we have been taught to value, caution, long-term thinking, thorough research, are exactly what makes great investors. So if anyone has told you that investing is not for women, know that the data proves them wrong. The second barrier is perhaps the most insidious barrier because it comes from within, and this is the confidence gap. Women often underestimate their financial knowledge and capability. We wait until we feel expert enough to start investing, while men often jump in with far less knowledge. But the truth is what I want you to remember. Every expert investor started as a beginner. And the difference is they got started. I'll look at the other 3 barriers that remain. The information gap. For a very long time, information about investing was locked away in boardrooms, financial institutions, and male-dominated networks. Women were simply not in the room, were not on the table where these conversations happened. But technology is changing this. Information is now available at your fingertips. Financial literacy resources are online, and you can even open a trading account from your phone. The networks that excluded women are being disrupted by platforms that include everyone. And SECZim has partnered with various stakeholders to ensure that investor education reaches women in their communities, in languages they understand, and through channels that they can access. Barrier number 4 is limited starting capital. And we always hear the phrase, I don't have enough money to invest. I hear this all the time, especially from women who are managing tight household budgets. But let me tell you something important. You can actually start investing on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange or the VFX or the many other products that we have with amounts that are far smaller than you might think. Some investment products allow you to begin with a few $100s, So you don't need to be wealthy to start investing. You need to invest to become wealthy. You need to invest to become wealthy. The last barrier I'll look at is time poverty. We are always juggling multiple roles, the professional, the mother, the daughter, in some instances, the grandmother, and a member of the community. Who has time then to monitor stock prices and read financial reports? But here's what modern investing looks like. You can set up a diversified portfolio and let that grow over time. In fact, the best investment strategy for most people and what works for me is to invest regularly and hold for the long term. This is not a second job. It's a smart use of your existing resources. And why do these barriers, overcoming these barriers, matter? It's the transformative power of financial independence. And financial independence transforms lives at multiple levels. It's a ripple effect. At personal empowerment level, you control your financial destiny, you control your choices. Financial independence means you leave a bad situation if you need to. It means you can pursue opportunities that excite you. It means you are not dependent on anyone else for your security. I've seen women who started investing describing this as an awakening call. Suddenly, you are reading business news differently. You are understanding economic trends. You are speaking up in conversations that once you stayed silent in. Financial empowerment creates a ripple effect of confidence that touches every area of our lives. I'll move on to the next stage of the ripple, which is family transformation. As women, we invest differently from men in one crucial way, and that the impact of wealth spreads wider. Research shows that when women control household resources, more money goes to children's education, to healthcare, and nutrition. So our wealth creation is not selfish. It's one of the most generous things that you can do for your family. And imagine being able to fund your children's university education without getting a loan from the savings club. Imagine having resources to properly and adequately and sufficiently support your aging parents. And lastly, importantly, in being able to leave an inheritance that allows your children a head start in life. Imagine being able to break the barriers to black tax. Breaking the generation cycles, number 3. Here's what moves me most about women's financial empowerment. It breaks generational cycles. If you grew up in poverty like I did, your investing can ensure your children don't. If you grew up watching your mother financially dependent, your financial independence shows your daughters a different path. Believing wealth was for the other people across the road, your portfolio today will prove otherwise. Generational wealth is not just for family fortunes. It starts with one woman making one decision to invest. And that's how dynasties began. The last one is a national economic participation and national development. And finally, let's zoom out. When women participate in capital markets, they personal wealth. We are driving the economic growth. Women bring different perspectives to investment decisions. We support different sectors. We ask of companies that we invest in, and a market that includes women's voices and women's capital is a more dynamic, more and a more resilient market. Our economic future depends on utilizing all of our talent. leaving no one and no place behind, leaving no woman behind. All of our resources, all of our capital, when we are excluded from markets, the entire economy suffers. And your participation matters not just to you and your family, but to Zimbabwe's economic development. I'll quickly share with you some real examples of women who have broken these barriers. I've changed their names, but their stories are real. I'll speak about Rudo, the teacher who built a retirement fund. Rudo is a secondary school teacher in Harare, and 5 years ago, at the age of 40, she realized that her pension alone would not give her the retirement she wanted. And she started with just $100 a month, investing in a diversified portfolio of blue chip stocks through an investment advisor. She did not have special knowledge. She did not have insider connections. She just started and she stayed consistent. Today, her portfolio has grown significantly, not just from her contributions, but from capital gains and dividends that she reinvested. She's on track to retire with dignity. She travels and she supports her grandchildren's education. And she tells me that the confidence she gained from investing has made her a better teacher. And she now teaches her students about financial literacy, passing on the knowledge that transformed her own life. I'll quickly move on to Chipo, the entrepreneur. Chipo runs a successful catering business, and for years, all her money was tied up in her business. During COVID, most of her events were cancelled, and that's when she realized how vulnerable it was with all her eggs in one basket. She then started diverting 10% of her business profits into the capital markets, and she chose different companies, telecoms, mining, and agriculture. And when her business struggled, her investments provided stability. When her business recovered, she had two income streams instead of one. And she says that learning to read financial statements for her investments has given her a better understanding of her own business finances. And she now teaches her teenage daughters about investing, thereby creating a legacy of financial literacy. Tendai, the young professional with big dreams. Tendai graduated from university 3 years ago, and she wanted to buy her own home, but did not want to wait until she got married or until she was over 40. And she automated investments from payroll deductions, money she never saw, so she never missed. She also educated herself through the free online resources and asked questions without shame. Last year, at the age of 26, she managed to make a down payment for her stand. And the key message is what these three women have in common is not wealth, connections, or special education. It's decisions and actions. They decided they deserved financial empowerment and they took action. We've talked about the barriers, but I want you to leave the session, or I want you to leave the session thinking about the possibilities instead. The question is not whether you can afford to invest. The question is whether you can afford not to. Every day you wait is a day your money is not working for you. Every month you delay is compounding interest that you'll never get back. And I want to make a recap of what I earlier said. What is ready? The infrastructure is in place, the protections exist, the opportunity is waiting for you. Your role, SECZim has worked hard to make it safe, transparent, and accessible. My colleagues, Corinne will show you exactly how to start, and Tandiwe will go through teaching you how to protect yourself. The only question that remains is not whether you can afford to invest, but rather whether you can afford not to. The capital market is waiting for you, and your financial future is calling. Are you ready to answer the call? With that, I close my presentation. I thank you. Over to you,
so
Farah.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Farida. Sorry to talk over you. Thank you for a most informative and enlightening presentation. Very thought-provoking, so many insights. I was just reposting on LinkedIn and just saying that those who haven't joined ought to do so, because the conversation is so beneficial, talking about confidence, because that is one of the difficulties that we encounter at any age as women. You speak about making informed and deliberate choices. You also refer to the time poverty that is particularly hard hitting for women. And I'm certain that with the other two presenters who will follow, we will learn how to make our money work for us, as you alluded to, while we are sitting at our desks or while we are gathering our tobacco leaves to take to the market. So without any further ado, and questions will come at the end, so participants, we now have 56 of them. Kindly make a note of your questions so that when the time comes, you'll be ready to ask them or to put them in the chat. So let me now invite Corinne to jump in with her presentation, and then we will conclude the discussion on an investor protection note with Sistandi, because there is nothing in the investment arena that is without risk. And we want to know how that risk will be mitigated when it comes. But as Farida said, that should not stop us from investing. So Corinne, my most recent interaction with her was last week at the Women in Financial Markets conference. And one of the things she said stayed with me, and it resonated with so many participants. And what she said was, and I paraphrase, do not mistake a quiet market for a dead market. Corinne, on that note, kindly share your screen and take us through your presentation. And remember to do camera on, because you are also promoting a relatively new entity in the capital market. Thank you. We see your presentation. I invite you to test your voice and test your next slide, and then I will go on mute. Perfect, it's moving.
Good morning, Farai.
Clearly audible. Over to you. Thank you.
Can you see me clearly?
Very clearly. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies. Happy Women's Month. I'm so excited to be here with you. And yes, we may have a quiet market, but it's certainly not dead. And I'll tell you more about that as we go on in the presentation. My presentation is entitled Navigating Capital Markets with Confidence. So navigation, you're thinking campus, you're thinking your GPS, you're thinking the traditional maps that we had. So I hope after today, you'll be able to navigate the capital markets with a little more confidence than you had before. So I like to think of the experience of trading in the capital markets based on what we are or who we are as women. So we cannot deny that we are female. We cannot deny that we think differently. We cannot deny that we have so many responsibilities. And often we are too busy to read the Financial Gazette. We're too busy to watch the financial news. We are too busy even to take care of ourselves. So I'm just here to say, for you to be able to navigate with confidence, you as a woman need to prioritize yourself. Most of the time we're thinking about other people. Has this one eaten? Is this one clothed? Has this one enough money? But we really seldom become selfish and think of ourselves. So wherever you are, whether you're my sister in terms of age, we're age mates, whether you're older than me, you're my mother, whether you're an aunt or whether you're a daughter and younger than me, I just want you today to think about yourself, to be selfish and to fuel yourself. Most of the time, we're thinking about other people and charging other people's batteries. But let's pause. When you're in a plane, I believe the first instructions, one of the first instructions from the attendant is that we should put on our oxygen mask. And today I'm asking you to put on your financial oxygen mask. Yes, you're worried about next term if the children have got winter wear. Yes, you're worried about our Sekuru who's Kumusha, who's not well. But today I'm asking you to be selfish. Let's put on our financial oxygen mask. Let's think about ourselves. Let's take time to be confident in the markets that have been availed. Thank you, Farida, for taking us through the different aspects and the different benefits of the Securities and Exchange Commission. How many of us in this webinar have been able to call the exchange or to call the Securities and Exchange Commission to ask certain information? Or do we shy away? That's not being fair on yourself. Put on that financial oxygen mask and be well knowledgeable. Make sure that you are confident in whatever you are doing. We take long to make decisions, but once we make them, we stick by them. So financially, women, let's be selfish. A woman with a voice is by definition a strong woman. And imagine a woman with a financial voice. She's unstoppable. We are hard workers. We are logical thinkers. We assess risk. But thereafter, after assessing risk, after being logical, after working very hard to make a living, what do we have to show for it? Food for thought. Okay, so there's a friend of mine who kept money or keeps money in many different places. And at one point, she actually kept money in the, they made a partition in their cupboard, in the wall, like to create a safe. They actually kept money there and it was safe to them, but it was not growing. And I kept on nagging her about investments. No, I'm not a finance person. You're stressing me. But she managed to put money aside. And she is smiling and beaming ear to ear because she took the risk. And not only her, I'm thankful that there are 3 friends of mine that are not in this group today, but I had to literally drive to their homes when Puma listed to get their forms for subscription. I was at one's house at 4:30 a.m. to say, can you invest? Can you put money in Puma? 10 cents? And she was smiling the other day saying, look at my investment, it's up 15, it's up and it's 15 cents. So I'm sharing the personal story of a friend of mine. I'm also sharing other personal stories of different friends of mine who were fearful, who were worried, and were stressed about investing. I also have another sad story to share, a story about a woman who invested in Bitcoin abroad. She sent over part of her retirement to some people over Mukuru. I'm sure some who've heard the story, I've shared it before. She sent money through. She did not share with her spouse. It's okay. But she sent money through to an unknown person, sending money to the UK via Mukuru. She sent 11,000. And when I got into contact with her, she was asking us as Investor IQ to help her she had been advised that her investment has grown to 250,000 US and she needed to send a bit more money so that she can redeem her profits. And we had to explain to her gently in the most painful manner that you've been spammed, you've been scammed, and all this money that you've sent through will not come back. So for one to be able to invest with confidence, make sure that you know where you're sending your money. So this friend of mine who was able to invest her money last year, and this year she's happy and smiling, she invested confidently because she did a background check. She actually checked, Corinne, you want me to invest in this stock and that stock and that stock. What is this stock about? She made sure that she read about it and understood. So yes, we are calling you to invest in the capital markets, but at the same time, we want you to be confident. So the Zimbabwean market is an interesting market. We've gone through a number of financial cycles as a country, and hence we are fearful, hence we have trust issues. At one point, someone said, as Zimbabweans, we need therapy. So I'm here to say that because we've gone through a number of challenges as a country, and sometimes we are not confident and we are not 100% sure of what the future holds. If I invest 1,000 ZIG today, will it be called 1,000 ZIG in November? Or if I invest 100 US on the VFEX, will I be able to withdraw my money at some point in time when I want to pay medical bills? So at InvestIQ, we believe that you need to start the journey and you simply need one seed. So the Zimbabwean market is a market of interest, of interesting opportunities. Like I mentioned, Fuma started and listed at 10 cents, and now it's trading at 15 cents. It even traded at a high of 16 cents. So if you look at that scenario, if I were to go to the Johannesburg exchange, or if I were to go to the Botswana Stock Exchange, these movements are akin and sort of peculiar to the Zimbabwean market. Hence, I say that the Zimbabwean capital market is fertile soil, where people are thinking that things are moving slowly. They are actually moving in great strides. So the stock market, I keep mentioning the stock market. One may be asking, what is the stock market? The stock market is where people can buy and sell shares between different people. So, for example, I can see Chennai Moyo. Chennai Moyo cannot sell shares to Evelyn Musundire if they meet and have coffee at a coffee shop, at Cafe Nash or whichever shop, and they decide, I've got Delta shares, I've got 100 Delta shares, I would like to swap Delta shares between ourselves. I think maybe my Delta shares are valued at $100, and then they decide to swap shares. That doesn't work that way. That's not how things move. So the stock market is where people can buy and sell shares. And in this market, in Zimbabwe, we have three markets. We've got the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, or ZSC Holdings, that trades in ZIG. It trades in local currency. So if you receive your salary or you receive your rentals in local currency, this is the market in which you can trade. Then we've got the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange. This one is a USD denominated exchange. It is governed by SIs that have zoned it into an offshore center. So this one will always be denominated in United States dollars. So this is a market that one can decide, I get a few savings, I get money in USD. This is the market for you to consider. Then we've got the FinSec market. It is there for the alternative markets, the derivatives, the options. And recently, they got a tokenization license. So this means that for a building, for example, you can own a fraction of a building, or you can own a fraction of an asset. You don't have to buy all of it. I'm sure over time they'll share more information. So this FinSec exchange is an alternative market where one can also trade in that. So all these three exchanges are governed and regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission, who are here present and who are the facilitators of this webinar, so that you know that everything that goes on is above board and everything is a good place. So we move to what trades on these markets. What is what are the things that are there on the markets. So we've got REITs, we've got equities, we've got ETFs. I'll explain a bit about the ETF. So the ETF is a collection or a basket of certain shares, certain commodities. The ETF will be tracking the growth of these shares. For example, if we have an ETF called Billboard ETFs, for example. So the Billboard ETF is going to be tracking the billboards in Harare, for example, all the billboards that are in Harare, how much people are paying, the advertisers are paying for that. As the billboards are being taken up and billboard space is being taken up by the advertisers, it means more money is coming into the billboard company. And as the billboard company makes more money, the underlying people or those who own shares or units rather in the ETF, it's growing. For example, the Casadel ETF. The Casadel ETF is an agriculture ETF. And in that ETF, the underlying stocks are into agriculture. So you may not be able to buy, for example, a Hippo share, which is going for 10 ZIG, but you'll be owning a percentage of Hippo. And you may not be able to own maybe Sidco as it goes up, but you'll be owning a percentage of Sidco. So that is how the ETFs work. And that one is a good one for us women because that way we diversify and we maintain our risk profiles. Women are risk averse. So if you are invested in a basket or a combination of things and spreading your risk, you don't own 100% of this stock, you don't own nothing of that stock. So you own a certain percentage of each and every stock, and that way you're spreading your risk. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. So that is why we are having this webinar, and we want the women here present to take a step and to be able to save. So what is the equities market? I spoke about the stock market. The stocks are called either called a share, an equity. So once you buy into shares, you are owning part of the company. So I've just shown an example, 3 examples of some of the companies that are listed on the exchange. All of these are listed on the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange, which trades in US dollars. So for interest's sake, INSCO in 2025 opened the year at 48 cents. Right now, as the market is trading, it's trading at $1.33. So when you become an owner of a company, you are able to buy shares and own them. And you're able also to sell them when you make a profit. That is called capital appreciation. When a share moves from 48 cents to $1.33, the capital has increased. And then there are other benefits of you being a shareholder, which are dividends. When the company makes money, they then share the profits with the shareholders. And that is called a dividend. The dividends for companies are usually distributed twice a year when they release their half-year financials and when they release their full-year financials. Then we have Padenga and Simbisa. Why I put the different pictures there is because we know the products and we consume the products thereof. We buy rice, we buy chicken in, we buy Nando's. So we are consumers. But why can't we be owners as well? As women, as we make our budgets, as women, as we plan our lives, as we make a financial plan, I always encourage us, let's have a 10-year financial plan. Let's break it down to 5 years. Let's break it down to 3 years and have an annual plan. What is the plan? If I fall sick and I'm not able to go to work, where will I get money from? If you have Padenga shares and you bought them at 17 cents last year, you can sell them today at 97 cents and you're good to go. So investing grows our money. Investing shields our money. Instead of putting our money in the safe, putting our money under the pillow, instead of putting our money in mkando that doesn't grow it, why not put our money in shares? Then we have a REIT, a real investment trust. So when you buy a REIT, you're owning part of the building. You're owning part of this real estate development. We have 4 REITs that are listed so far, but 11 that are licensed and are in the pipeline. So for you to own a REIT, you buy and you subscribe the same way you buy shares. So a REIT, why I like the REIT is because they are mandated by law to distribute at least 80% of their net proceeds every quarter. So the financial plan that I spoke about, if you have some money aside, you can actually invest in a REIT and know and sort of stagger based on past experience to say, I think in May, the quarter would have ended, they would have done their financials, I'll get something from the REIT. I think that money I'll use for ABCD and reinvest half of it. So sometimes we don't have the money to buy land. Sometimes we don't have the expertise to manage real estate. But you can own land, you can own property through a REIT. And you know that 4 times per annum, if it is an income REIT, I am getting something. So there are 2 types of REITs. There's an income REIT and a development REIT. An income REIT is calling us to come through as women to help them enjoy the fruit of their labor. They already have land, they already have property somewhere, and they are saying, let's come together and build together and enjoy the benefits. So we've got Tigere REIT, for example. Tigere Property Fund had phase 1. They had land at Highland Park, and they asked for subscriptions in ZIG, and people were able to buy into Tigere REIT and able to help them build the 2nd phase. And now Tigere, since its listing, they own Greenfields, Chinamano Corner, and Zimbabwe Park Steers drive-through. And this has been a build-up over 3 years. Imagine you coming together with 3 or 4 other friends trying to do that. I don't think it's possible, but here's an opportunity for you to build resources with other trusted and well-regulated people. So Tigere REIT trades on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. It goes for 1 ZIG. I believe the beautiful women that are here present can have more than 10 ZIG, can have more than 100 ZIG to buy into this unit. We've got Revitas. This one is a NRZ pension fund. They also on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. It trades in ZIG. They are working on transforming spaces in town that are traditionally commercial, and they're going to work on mixed use for their plan ahead. And they're also working on Chisipiti shopping mall to make it more fancy, to make it more modern. So as we go through these shopping malls, ladies, and we are consuming and we are enjoying the benefits, why not join in and also own it? We've got Eagle REIT and Puma Fund. Eagle REIT listed last year in May on the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange. It listed at 15 cents, United States. At present, it's trading at 36 cents stably, but it has reached highs of 42 cents. So imagine what kind of investment would you have put your money in that gives you such an upside in less than a year. So Eagle REIT, they own Mazoe Business Park. They also own some land in Victoria Falls. They are working on a hospital that will be able to service the tourists that are there in Victoria Falls. At present, we only have the Victoria Falls General Hospital that is servicing that area. They are also targeting a hotel. They're targeting mixed residential use, as well as commercial use that they are working on in Victoria Falls. This is some of the projects they are working on. And then we have got the youngest of the REITs listed on the exchanges, the Puma Fund. Puma Fund, yesterday I had the privilege to visit Hoggarty Hill. They are doing well there. They have a number of anchor clients, Pick and Pay, Bola Market, and they have a new tenant that is coming through. They say most probably in the next 6 weeks. So they own that place. They own Coke Corner. They own land in Chegutu. They also own land in Chivu that they are building, and they've got interesting pipeline projects. They also have a development they are working on at Silverbrook. That is along Mtare Road. For a long time, the residents of Mashonaland East have been deprived of fun places to go, be it in terms of the food, the takeaways. The nearest place was Masasa. But it's good to see that Puma Fund, Tigere are working to revitalize that area. So people are asking themselves, how do I buy these shares? What do I need to do? So in Zimbabwe, you need to trade through a stockbroker. They are the ones who are the professional and licensed guides. They are there to help you as you go along. So the stockbrokers are no longer reserved for the elite and the wealthy. They were never actually. But I guess we had the fear of contacting them, the fear of understanding. So make sure you select a stockbroker. They are your primary check. They are the ones who will make sure that everything is above board. They will collect your KYC, your ID, be it if you're opening for your son or your daughter, your niece, your nephew. They are able to make sure and take you through the processes of how to go about it. And I've put in a link where you can verify, is my stockbroker registered? Is my stockbroker above board? Even the asset manager that I want to use, who are they and what are they about? So I encourage you as women to navigate with confidence and know exactly whom you're working with. I think gone are the days, personally, if you are my friend and we are good to go and we are buddies, I am no longer buying you the latest perfume as your birthday present. I am buying you shares, my friend. So please make sure that you know who your stockbroker is and understand that they are not reserved for the elite and the wealthy. So you need to understand your risk. So the higher the risk, the higher the return. So I encourage us women to make sure that there's a trade-off between your risk and your return. When you go to your broker, make sure you explain to them, I need this money at such a time. The money that I am putting in, I'm putting it for XYZ time, and I need it to work this way. So make sure you explain, and your global financial plan should speak to how you want to use the money. Sometimes maybe the stock market may not be the best place for you to be in for a long time. Maybe you can be there for 6 months and then take out the money from the stock market and channel it elsewhere into another investment that is important to you. So make sure you gather all your details and you find a partner who is going to assist you, and demand of the stockbroker. I need my reports. I need to know how much I own. I need to understand the market. Explain to me, what is the stock market? When does it trade? How does it trade? How do I benefit? Make sure you ask all the difficult questions. When you go to a doctor, the doctor usually asks, how are you feeling? What is wrong? And you explain to them in great detail. I have a headache, I have palpitations. Explain as well to your financial advisor, to your stockbroker. I have fears. I don't understand the stock market. I don't understand how to read these reports that you send me, and they will take you step by step. The last one is planting. Make sure you start with small, consistent amounts. For me, it's not about timing the market to say, let me buy now and sell then. I believe as women, we need time in the market. we need to make sure that our investments have enough time to grow. For example, Padenga last year, January, that I mentioned, was 17 cents. Imagine someone had just seen it go up to 25 cents and they sold their shares. Would they have been benefiting that it's gone up to as much as $1 as it today? So sometimes I believe we are rushed. I believe we are fast. We need to give ourselves time in the market. Yes, we may sell the profits that we've made and get out and leave maybe the capital, but let's make sure we have time in the market. We realize the importance of our voices only when we are silenced. Please, I ask you again, make sure that your financial voice is not silent. And investing is not just merely a transaction, it's an act of stewardship over the future you're building for yourself, for your children, and the generation to come. And this is a question that I just posing to you. How many of you save regularly? How many of you have ever thought about investing before this webinar? What do you usually do when you get money? Do you spend or save, and do you invest? And do you think you need a lot of money to start investing? I don't think so. With as little as 10 US dollars, with as little as 1,000 ZiG, different stockbrokers have different minimums. But I believe that if you are confident, you can start at any time. So if I were to give the ladies here $50, how would you spend it? Would you spend it or would you grow it? And the typical example I have there is, would you go and buy that package there and enjoy with your family today? Or would you buy Simbisa Brands, which is going for about 73 cents per share? Food for thought and call for action. Thank you.
Corinne, that was a cracker for presentation. Thank you very much. Building very nicely from where Farida had set the scene, provided a foundation, and you went on to provide us with practical examples of investables, the various asset classes that are available, the securities in one form or another, and you introduced the tokenization, which means that in that big investment plan, the 5-year plan, as you alluded to, when we break it down, there are small components provided in a tokenized product, for example, that enable us to jump in an affordable manner. And having said that, the smallest possible unit of investment is as little as 1 ZiG. I think we can all be included in the first steps of the investment journey. Thank you, Corinne. It just remains for me to now introduce or allow to continue Sis Thandi to come in and begin her presentation for us. Sis Thandi, I think a lot has been said and done, and you have this wonderful job of telling us how the whole discussion around capital markets investment is ring-fenced and how there's a level of protection available, but you are also using the fact that you straddle both the commercial space as a stockbroker and the regulatory protection space as a member of the board of the Investor Protection Fund. I invite you to share your screen if you wish to and are able to from your end. And if that's not working out for you, we are happy to share from SECZim. Great, I see your presentation is up. Can I just test your audio? Okay, it has flashed in and out. Let's get your presentation back again, please. And also we'll test your audio before I mute.
Thank you. Can you see? Oh, okay. I'm trying to share the screen now.
Great, it's coming back. We now have your presentation and your audio is great. Please go ahead.
It's starting from the end. I would like you to start it from the beginning.
All right. I'm sure if you no problem.
Maybe Talent can share it for me.
Or while you still have, okay, no, that's fine. Talent, are you able to share the presentation for us? Okay, great.
Yes, Farai, let me share from the side.
Yeah, please
Thank
share
you.
from that side. My laptop is playing up.
That's
Thank you.
fine. So while she's sharing, there was a question asked about stockbrokers, Standi, and one of our participants has asked, am I able to change stockbroking firms? Please, if you can address that question for us.
Oh, yes, you can. Thank you, Farah. Yes, you can change stockbroking firms. What happens is your shares, some of them will be held under a broker controlled model. But if you want to change stockbrokers, there is what is called a transfer form. You can transfer your shares to any broker of your choice. And yeah, that is allowed. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And your presentation is now ready to run. You'll just need to indicate to Talent when you want her to shuffle the slides forward for you. Over to you, Standi.
Thank you, Farai. Thank you, Farida, and thank you, Corinne. I think everything has been explained in detail. So my role here is just to talk to you about the role of the Investor Protection Fund and how we protect investors, the rights of the investor and how to exercise them, and warning signs of investment scams and how to avoid them. So we are in the Investor Protection Fund. It's like, in layman terms, it's like an insurance against your investments. So all those things that we've been spoken about, they are insured actually, if you trade with the proper people, like it has been emphasized. So the introduction of Investor Protection Fund is a fund that was started in 2010 to protect investors from losses due to a licensed contributor's insolvency or malpractice. So you hear me saying licensed, you have to have invested with someone that's licensed, not pyramid schemes, not these spin money people that are just around our faces, that are on our faces every day. So you have to make sure that you're safe in that area. And as per the statutory instrument 83 of 2017, a protected investor includes security holders dealt with by a contributor. Those with securities that are held by a contributor, or those rights to a right to obtain securities from a contributor. So by a contributor, I mean a licensed contributor with SECZim. We have licensed contributors, like if I can give you an example of stockbrokers, of investment managers, and all the like. They are all licensed. There's continued surveillance, continued monitoring on their part, so that they make sure that those people don't fall by the wayside as they hold the investments or as they trade in your stocks, or when you give them money, it does not just disappear because those people are licensed. Thank you. Next slide. So there is, let's say you've put money in a licensed, I'll keep saying licensed, a organization, and something goes wrong, or before they buy your shares, they disappear, or there's malpractice, someone steals the money, which is a risk, that some inherent risk that we face in where money is concerned. So if that happens, you take your claims, you bring them to Investor Protection Fund, then they submit those documents to SECZim for investigation, because SECZim we report to SECZim as a board. And then SECZim will do their reports and findings and bring it back to Investor Protection Fund board for evaluation. And then if valid, the board will assess the compensation and pay within 3 months. So in the case of multiple claims, the assessment is done after all claims are submitted. So you submit your claim, and if they say yes, for sure, we can see that this person lost their money due to something that happened with the contributor, then you are given part of that money. And the board's decision is final. You cannot now go and say, I'm appealing, I want more money or whatever, but that will have been assessed and taken care of during these investigations that will be happening. Next slide. So there are limitations to this. As it has been alluded to by the speakers before me, we exclude unlicensed schemes. We exclude those funds that are not under SECZim. So we can only pay to those that are under SECZim, and the maximum payout is 10% of the fund's asset value at that time. So the value of the investor protection fund, you can get 10%, maximum of 10% of the value of the fund, but in proportion to how much you will have lost. So some can get the whole amount, some cannot get the whole amount. It's just proportionate. And when there's many claims that happen at the same time, those are proportionated as well, so that each person get their fair share. But this is being looked at right now. It might be changed in the near future. So I will tell you about the claims, how the claims are rejected. That is, if you file over 12 months, if you just sit on it and say, I lost money, then you are awakened one day to say you're claiming you cannot get the money after 12 months. That will be closed. And if you contributed to the loss, if you went to the broker and you had a scheme that you are arranging that is outside the rules of stockbroking, the rules of investment management, then you cannot claim, unfortunately. It has to be in line with what is outlined in investments. And then if the claim has inaccuracies or omissions, if there are other things that you are not telling us that happened during your trades, then you cannot get that. And then payments can be postponed if other compensation avenues aren't exhausted. Like if the company has some other insurance schemes or they have assets, you have to claim from that organization first, and they can liquidate it, and you can claim from whatever is left with them. Or if they had indemnity, you claim from the insurance company, and then you can get the balance you can get the rest from investor protection fund. And the claimants, if the claimant is involved in a related court case, then we postpone that and find out the ruling before you are paid. Next slide. So steps to file a claim. We're going back. You file the claim with Minerva. Minerva are the ones that we outsource the secretariat business to, because investor protection fund doesn't have its own secretariat. We outsource. So we outsource those secretariat services to Minerva Benefits Consulting. So they're the ones that look at the day-to-day happenings, and which the board oversees that. So you make your claim there. And in case of insolvency, like let's say a stockbroker is insolvent, a fund is insolvent, the board will publish a notice in the national newspapers, that at least 2 national newspapers, to alert those that are invested in through those companies to come and make claims. So the claim form is sent to the contributors client based on their records. So we look at all that, and you submit the claim form before the deadline, because the deadline will be outlined. And then the board may extend the deadline or deny compensation. That is up to the board. Now we're looking at each matter differently. And the board can also engage legal counsel if needed to say, how do we go about this when there are cases that are a bit complicated. We engage legal counsel. Thank you. Next slide. Next slide, Talent. Thank you. With all that now, you know that your investments are safe. They are secured. And if anything goes wrong, can you go to the other slide before this one? Thank you, Talent. Yes, that one. So you know that you are safe. But now we will alert you, like the others have said before me, that there are some investments that are scams. You've already heard about people being scammed. And for us women, you know, we've been treated as charity cases for a long time when it comes to investments. But now with this generation, we can see that the women are rising and investing. Instead of spending all your time watching those soap movies you can watch business news, you can watch the market, you can follow the market even on your own, you know. So all these things are out at our fingertips. There's internet, there's so much, you know, in our faces that talks about investments. So we really expect us to be wise, because I know that many women fell into pyramid schemes, into these other financial companies that just were promising to spin your money and giving you returns that are too good to be true. So now you have to watch this. You have to see if there are red flags. If someone talks about returns, like I've heard people that talk about 50% per annum, where on earth can you get such a return? You should ask yourself those questions, especially us women. I think we have been falling into these scams too many times. You know, let us inquire, let us ask, let us even approach SEC and ask, is this thing safe? So, you know, even if you see someone giving you pressure tactics to say, invest now or miss out, just know that that is wrong. And then there's unregistered investments. We've spoken about that. You check with SECZim if they are registered. And then some overly complex explanations, something that you can't understand when they tell you this and that. You just know that this doesn't sound like a proper investment. So you have to beware. And if there's no clear exit strategy, I think Corinne was talking about exit strategies, that if you want to invest for 6 months, you want to do these projects and you want, you know, everything has to be clear. And then if they tell you about unusual payment methods, be wary of those weird payment requests and be on the watch out. The other slide now. And then how to avoid that, verify with regulators, check with SECZim, because once you go into those and then you come to investor protection fund to make a claim, we will not give it to you. We will not even look at you, because in the first place, those people that you're talking about, we do not know, because we only deal with people that are registered with SECZim. And then there's also research. You have to look up, like I was talking about, information is on our fingertips right now. Look these things up even on your own, and you will be in a safe place. And don't rush, take time to think it through. Seek advice, talk to a financial advisor. And if it feels off, it probably is. So you need to trust your gut feel. And if you go through all this and anything happens to the brokers, to the fund managers, to asset managers, you know that you are covered. So if you get these things right, you are in a safe place and you know that you are investing right. So I would urge us women to really be on the lookout. Thank you. The last slide. Thank you very much.
That's a lovely and very concise presentation, Sistandi. Thank you so much. And I think this is the thing that we equate private schemes, unregulated schemes. Those are outside the purview of any regulator. We equate these with mainstream regulated schemes and believe that the return is sufficient justification to participate. And I think your presentation brought us beautifully back into the fold. It foregrounds the work of the Commission and also the related work of the Investor Protection Fund. In all of this, I'm reminded that I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Farain Porfo, and I'm the Acting Director of Policy and Market Development at the Securities and Exchange Commission. I made the error of believing that I moderate quite a number of these webinars and believe that I am known to our participants. But of course, we've got a high turnover and a high participation rate of participants who we appreciate very much. So I'm aware that we've responded to a question or two during the course of our discussion. I'm also aware that we've overrunning our time to some extent, but I would like one or two participants to perhaps raise their hand if they are ready to ask a question, or to type their question in the chat. I'm looking now, and let me just go into the excuse me, into the Q&A. and see what questions we might have there. It's just loading very quickly. And if my colleagues can see any other questions, please alert me to it. So for now, I have a question which goes, how can we protect long-term investments from the challenges we have faced as a country, which historically caused our parents to lose their savings and investments? Is there a foolproof way to ensure that long-term investments are safe? I want to invite both Sistandi and Corinne to comment on this. I would like to start with Corinne. And I'm sure in your response, Corinne, you will differentiate between the monetary banking side with the investment side, and then to ensure that we are confining ourselves to our particular area of expertise. Corinne, are you on standby to tackle that question?
Thank you. Thank you, Farai. I'm on standby.
Please go ahead.
Okay. For us to protect ourselves, we need to be knowledgeable. We need to understand what we're getting into. We need to know the company also that we are buying into. So the company you want to buy as a share, as a REIT, or as an ETF, what is it all about? So you need to ask yourself, what is it that I'm buying into? Is it something that always trades? Is it something that is doing well? I'm just putting it in layman's terms, though your broker will then go further to then give you analysis in terms of the PE ratio, how is it making money, and how is it giving back to its shareholders. So you need to be knowledgeable, understand what is it that you're buying into as a share. Understand also the time at which you're buying whatever you're buying. We are some years before an election. You consider all those things. We are some years before an election. We're in the middle of a war. What should I be buying? There's the Iran and the Middle East. What's going on? So you need to be knowledgeable of the things that are going around you and around the counter you want to buy. Yes, you want to buy Delta. How long has it been in the market? What has the price movement been like? So you need to be knowledgeable about the stock, about what is it that you're buying, and also about the timing in which you are buying whatever you're buying. Are you buying it a week before it releases its financials, or it released its financials last week? So now everyone is buying into that stock because of the dividend rush, and everything is going up. Are you not buying when it's at its high, at its peak? So also the history of that stock, how it's trading, is important for you to make a decision for long term. Also, how often do you make your money? How often do you get money? If you get money once as a lump sum, you also need to understand where you're going to place your money. Are you going to place your money on the ZSC that moves up here and there? Or are you going to place on the VFEX and be patient for a certain time? So you need to be aware of where you're placing the money, how long you're placing the money for, and I would say ask all the hard questions, ask all the things that are concerning you pertaining to that investment. Also understand that the stock market trades on demand and supply. So whatever you want to buy or sell, at some point you'll need to sell. Will I be able to get out of that share? Some shares are good for capital appreciation. They go up and the returns year to date will be good, but they are not so liquid. So you need to also know that if I want to sell maybe AFDIS, I may not be able to sell it as fast as I would sell Delta, because it takes a bit of time. It's a tightly held stock, and there are few people who hold it, and they move in and out at a slower pace. There's also the share register. As an investor, you're entitled to know the share register. You need to know, for example, I'm buying Tigere. Who else owns Tigere? The color and the type of other shareholders also helps you to know, is this company, am I in this for the long haul? And who are the other partners who are there? And how does it affect my decision? I hope I was able to summarize in the shortest possible this answer needs a long response and a longer time. But I hope I sort of captured the essentials on deciding and how we can curate and cover ourselves based on what we've gone through in the past. And don't buy shares and disappear. Be active. Make sure you're reading and knowing what's going on. And that way you can also protect yourself.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Corinne, for that. And I'm sure we can benefit from a quick insight from Sithandi, particularly where the question refers to, is there a foolproof protection mechanism in an investment environment?
Thank you, Farai. Yeah, I think Corinne has said most of the things that are involved, but right now what I can talk about is the money that at times was seemingly lost in the stock market was not actually lost, because the shares that were traded then before 2008, the shares that were bought by the clients are still sitting on our unclaimed shares portfolio right now as we speak, because unlike the other monies that disappeared, the stock market crossed over from Zim dollar to US dollar and the other way around. If you buy shares, you have bought shares. You did not buy money. You are not keeping money. You are keeping shares. So if you had 100 Delta shares in 2003, you did not buy more shares then, or you bought more, you still have 100 shares. So it's just the value that we're talking about now, not the actual shares did not disappear, because with the Investor Protection Fund in connection with SEC, we are working on unclaimed shares, and we have right now, if I can tell you, the value is like 91. Let me put it in US dollar terms. It's 25 900, and ZIG is 9 billion, I think. Farai, if you can help me, is it 91 billion and 3 million USD worth of shares that are sitting in the unclaimed shares? And those people think that their shares were swallowed up. But the safe thing I can tell you about the stock market is, if you buy shares, you buy shares. So these shares are still sitting there. Let me just read the value. It's 91 million 323,334 ZIG. And then in US dollar terms, it's 3.9 million US dollars. So maybe your shares are sitting there. I would advise you to go to the SECZim website and check your names and see if they are there, because we have this problem of these shares that are just sitting and no one is claiming them, assuming that they were swallowed up by inflation or by the US dollar. So I think it's safe to trade in the stock market if I tell you about this thing, that the shares are shares and they do not change. Thank you.
I appreciate both responses very much from capital market practitioners who have also lived through some of the periods that are being described by the questioner. Thank you very much for that question. I also want to take this opportunity, in the absence of further questions and comments, to thank very much our panelists from Ferida Matambo, FD at the Securities and Exchange Commission, Corinne Madana, MD at Investor IQ Oak, and Sithandi, who was wearing the hat of the Investor Protection Fund. Thank you very much to our panelists. I mean, the information you provided was invaluable. The vibe and the aura that was also created. I see a hand up. I'll come back to you, Sithandi, in a moment. Was also great, because I think it was conveying the urgency of the action that is needed, and also conveying the opportunity that exists. And I think, to borrow from my colleague Ferida, she said the door is open and it is your action that is needed to walk through the door and invest in your own future. And I think she also referred to legacy and issues of destiny. So, Sithandi, you've taken your hand down. Do you want to come back in again?
Yes, thank you, Farai. I was just asking if you could send the SECZim. I think you've sent the page, the SECZim page, in the
Yes.
group, so that we tackle this unclaimed
Yes,
share
definitely. The
share
link
screen.
is there. And for the benefit of participants, if you navigate to the page where there's a search engine, and you can simply enter your name there, and you will see whether you actually have shares that you owned or own, and you are able to be reunited with these following the process that has already been described. So please go ahead and visit the website, and also feel free to contact the Commission directly, or your stockbroker, or Chengetedzai, the depository. Any of these contact points in the capital market are available to you to raise your inquiries so that you are appropriately directed. So thank you very much. Happy Women's Month, happy investing, and we look forward to meeting again at the next webinar. Thank you so much for the team behind the scenes. You make these webinars appear seamlessly managed, but we know that you are frantically paddling in the background. So thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Farai. Thank you, Corinne and Ferida.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you, our moderator and
Thank
fellow
you, everybody.
panelists.
Goodbye.